Hello and welcome to Factorio. We are going to have a look at train limits because I see lots of people on Twitch and in the forums and elsewhere a bit unsure about how to do train limits. So I've set up this toy train network, and at the moment it has a station called Load, which is filling up this train with fish. It has a train called Unload, which is emptying this train of fish, and then I have a wait station, this wait station here. The purpose of the wait station is to give our train somewhere to sit in between loading and unloading, just so that it's out the way. In a real factory you may have wait stations, or you might have a separate wait station for full trains and empty trains, or you may just rely on the train tracks being long to spread out the timing of trains. But in this little toy example, we need something to guarantee that trains spend a bit of time doing something other than going directly from the load station to the unload station. And if we look at the schedule, so it goes to the wait station, waits for a second to be in activity, then it goes to load and it goes for a full cargo. It goes to wait again for 1 second to be in activity, and it goes to unload and empties its cargo. So that's all fairly simple and straightforward. Again, as I say, in a real network, you may not have the wait station, so it may just go to load full, unload empty. Dealer's choice. So this train is happily going backwards and forwards. The train station here is just a bog standard train station. There's no other settings set. But today we're going to be talking about the train limit. Okay, so let's see. What I'm going to do is copy this schedule over to all the other trains so that we've got multiple trains now which want to do things. Okay, so all these trains are now waiting. I haven't put them on automatic yet. Let's put this one on automatic and see what it does. So it goes off and it is going to load. Then once it has loaded, it will go to wait, and then it will go to unload. So let's set off a third train and a fourth train and a fifth train, sixth, seventh, eighth. Okay, so what is happening here? So this train stop, only has room to buffer 3 trains in total, 1 being loaded and 2 waiting to be loaded. This train wants to go in to be loaded, but it can't get into a siding. So then these trains all need to get somewhere, but there isn't room on the network for them to get there. Now, we haven't got a horrible traffic jam because they're sort of gated behind this signal here. You can see they're stuck here. But it means that there's these trains that want to unload, and they can't unload because the track needed to get to the unload station is full. So this one here, look, this one's blocking unloading. So we've got 3 full fish trains wanting to unload, and they simply can't get there because they can't get a path through past where these trains have filled it all up. All right, so noting that we can fit at most 3 trains in here, what we can do, not rename it, that would be daft. What we can do is set a train limit to 3. So now, once this has worked its way through, trains which are already pathed there are pathed there. That's just it. But it now will not call more than 3 trains to the loading station. So let's see what happens. So we've got all these full fish trains now, and they all want to unload. And again, this has room for the train which is unloading, and then 2 trains in its stacker. But we have a 3rd train here trying to unload. Okay? So you can see now we've got an extra train sat here blocking this train that wants to load from getting to the load station. All right, so let's let this run for another couple of minutes and see if it settles down. But you can see it's not really going to because we have this train blocking. All right, so this train here says destination full. All right, it's not doing it anymore. But its destination was full because there were already 3 trains allocated to the load station. Now they're blocking, okay? So what we need to do is set this train limit to 3. And what that means is it will only schedule at most 3 trains to that train stop. Hopefully this will solve our problem. So let's give it a moment to run. We need to get each train through a station and back into the wait before it'll settle itself down. All right, so our 3 fish trains are now in. Then we've got 1, 2, 3 trains now waiting to load and 3 trains waiting to unload. And we have 2 trains stuck in the wait condition because there's nowhere ready to service them. Okay, we can probably improve the signaling here a little bit. Something like that. All right. So these kind of contention issues can really destroy the throughput of a rail network if you have too many trains allocated to a train stop. In the olden days, what you would do is name all your load and unload stations differently. So you'd have iron 1, iron 2, iron 3, and then you'd have to set up separate trains to go on the different routes. But here, if I wanted another load station, what I could do is copy paste this to somewhere on the network, set its train limit to 3 again, and then up to 3 trains would be allocated to that. So this all seems very much like an improvement, right? You can see that we've got all our trains going where we would want them to go, and life is happy. And because loading is slightly faster than unloading, there's actually more trains waiting to load than there are trains waiting to unload. But that's fine. That's just the way the world is. All right. So this is great, but you can see these boxes are backing up. And what I really want to do is not call a train in unless we are ready to empty the train. Okay, so we can actually improve upon our design by using a decider combinator. And what we do is we wire the boxes to the decider combinator, and then we wire the output of the decider combinator into the train station. Okay, so this is reading the fish. There are currently 11,000 fish in boxes. And what we say is something like, when fish is less than 1,000, output 1, and I believe L is the standard letter. And then on here, you click on set train limit. Train limit, it defaults to the signal L. So what's going to happen here is while there's more than 1,000 fish in these boxes, there will be no L being outputted here. So the train limit is 0. And you can see it says a grayed out 0. Okay, I'm going to help this along. I'm going to grab some of the fish. How are we doing? Okay, so do you see a train got called in? So the train will get called in, it will dump all its fish into these boxes, and you can see there's lots of trains here wanting to be filled. Okay, so each time a train gets filled up with fish, it goes into the wait buffer, and everything's fine. So we've unloaded a train. It wants to fill, but we can only queue up 3 trains to be filled. And then we're only going to call in 1 train for unloading when this falls below 1,000 fish. So I'm going to stand over here and we will see this go down below 1,000 fish. There you are. It went below 1,000, so it called in a train. All right, so this is a much better way to load balance across stations if you have multiple stations. It's often helpful to hook up a light just so that for visual debugging. So we are going to disable this whenever L is greater than 0. And you can use colors and all the normal things, but in a minute, this will go back down below 1000. I'm going to help it out a bit. Okay, and you see a light comes on because now L is 1. It's called in a train. The train is unloading. And then as we get over 1,000 fish in these boxes, the light goes off. It's no longer requesting one train. So that is the simple, stupid version. And to be honest, for 99% of all train stations, this is absolutely perfect. There are a few cases where you're dealing with very high volume materials, and this tends to be ores and plates, possibly circuits, where you're quite keen to keep these boxes full, which means calling in multiple trains. So instead of using a decider combinator, we can replace the decider combinator with an arithmetic combinator. Okay, so let's delete that. We're going to look at one of these trains. Right, when one of these trains is full, it has 4K fish. Whoop, bang. Okay, and what I would like to do is say, in fact, it's easier, let's undo this. It's easier to explain with the loading station, actually. Right, so let's say we want to wire up this loading station. We are going to, I've just realized I only wired half the boxes. That's better, isn't it? All right, so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to wire up our boxes. Good. So we can read out how many fish there are here. So it's pretty much close to 0 because they're getting put into here. Okay. So we're going to wire that to there. Now we want to input the number of fish we have stored, and we are going to divide by 4,000. And we're going to output L. So if you remember, each train can fit 4,000 fish. What we're saying is, let's divide the number of fish we have in the boxes by 4,000. And that is, in effect, telling you how many trains we could fill. So then we wire that to the train station and set the train limit. So if you look at this, the train limit is currently, it's got 3 trains allocated of 0. The reason it's of 0 is because it wants to call in 0 trains because it has less than 4,000 fish in boxes. Okay, so this is filled up. We're just gonna have to wait for these 2 trains to work through the system. All of these are no pathing. Sorry, they're not no pathing. They're destination filling, because the stations now have train limits that are saying we don't want another train. Go away. All right. So this is nearly full. I wish there was a way to speed up the inserters, but maybe there is actually. I'm just going to. Yeah, I'm just going to grow this out a little. Just to do the minimum we can to speed up the rate at which the fish are loaded. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, we're just doing a simple arithmetic calculation on the fish, but it would be possible for us to do quite complicated circuit conditions. So it's possible if you have lots of stations which are dealing with the same materials, You could pass those signals for counting what's in boxes through some complicated circuitry to load balance across multiple stations, for example. In something like SE, space exploration, you might have circuits on trains which are balancing across different production chains with things that have the same outputs. But it's all basically the same thing. You either have a count or you have a yes/no that says, please give me a train, or please give me 5 trains. All right, so no trains being called in here. And the reason is we have 1.7k fish in the boxes. And to call in a train, we need lots and lots and lots. Okay? Right, so when I put this back, I obviously didn't... Oh no, it's just that we have a ton of fish in these boxes. Let's try emptying one of these boxes. It's because I only wired up half the station earlier. Okay, so that's going to call in a train. All right, so this finally got up to beyond 4,000 fish. Okay, so it's called in a train to load. So it's then loading up this train here, and it's refilling these boxes. And if the travel time was much greater, you can see how it would fill up these boxes with more than one train load of materials, and then call in 2 or 3 or 4 trains to empty. So in this case, because everything's quite close together and there isn't a latency, it's toggling backwards and forwards between counting up to 4,000 and downwards, and not really getting to 8,000 where it would call in a second train. But this does mean it only ever calls in a train when it is ready to fill the train. This has the secondary advantage that these arms here are never pulling from empty boxes. Well, rarely pulling from empty boxes. And the benefit of that is that because they're mostly swinging full stacks of items, it's a lot more efficient on your computer. Okay, so I think that's it. Now, I did this in the simplest way possible. So I was using the thresholding on the requester side, and I was using the counting on the provider side. On this side, if you want to do counting, you actually have to do some extra work, because what you need to do is count not so much how many items are in the chest, but how many items you could put into the chest. So you need a couple of extra combinators to subtract out what you have from the theoretical maximum. So I didn't do it here because it's an extra 3 or 4 bits of wire, which gets a bit complicated. And similarly for unloading, for loading up, actually this is straightforward again for the loading. You just put in a threshold that says, can I fill at least 1 train? And in which case we call in a train to unload. Anyway, this was my demo. You can see we've now drastically reduced the train traffic. We potentially did not even need stackers now that we're only calling in trains when we can handle the trains. And life is good. Less train traffic means more UPS, means less contention on the rail network for getting accidental deadlocks, and everything is happy. So, thank you very much for watching my train limit tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was informative. If it was, or if you need something else explained in more detail, please let me know down in the comments. Until then, like, subscribe, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.